You know, a retro logo loses its effect when a Warner Media plug shows up at the bottom of the screen.
I'm not out that long to smell it, but I think to look at it, it's terrible.
It's rare for a movie to include critical reviews about itself anywhere, much less at the very beginning. This is the whole movie right here. He tugs at himself enough, he can see himself as funny. The movie tugs at itself enough, vague setting, obvious references, it can see itself as unique. When you're going out of business, why would you spend money on a sign clown? You are going out of business! Stop spending money! Giving the movie a sin for me never being able to see the film strip search. The kind of street youth that would do this are exactly the type of folks to be quickly brainwashed into a violent cult by a charismatic leader loser that goes on TV and fights back. Or is that the point? Also, who goes running after a large group of thieves over a cardboard sign? Is he desperate? Maybe. Is he stupid? I guess so. Most folks would just go back to the boss and say they got robbed. The movie needs him to get his ass beat, and so he does. But I'm not convinced he had a good reason to run after them into an alley. That's what you get for trying to sell stuff! So far, this is my life story. Only instead of a clown costume, I was in a Michael W. Smith t-shirt, and instead of an alley, I was beaten up in the high school bathroom. But otherwise, totally the same. Goddamn movie, your title is so big it makes me think you have a tiny penis. Joker saw a Civil War and wanted to engage in a comic book movie giant title war. Nearly a minute of cry laughing. Look, Joaquin is amazing in this movie. I'll take a sin off here and now for it. He rules. All throughout this movie, the clocks read 11:11. Is this movie a continuation of Us? Does Arthur have a doppelganger? Is he the doppelganger? Anyway, reading some stuff on the internet says the number 11 can mean anxious, shy, stressed, conflicted, scattered, which seems to fit symbolically. Anyway, all the clocks being 11:11 is a f***ing sin.
Arthur, you're on 7 different medications. Surely they must be doing something.
What, lady? Is that really how mental health medicine works? By sheer math?
Will you please stop bothering my kid?
While everyone compares Joker to a bunch of Scorsese movies, the one it really takes after is I Don't Feel at Home in This World Anymore, in which every person Melanie Linsky runs into is an asshole, or dildos, or faces. If I had to walk up this set of stairs every time I went home, I would literally die. Also, yes, these stairs are real, and in New York City, and I'm adding 10 sins for all the asshats that have turned these stairs into a tourist destination so that regular pedestrians are inconvenienced. Also, I wouldn't touch either of those handrails if you paid me $100. Why does this apartment complex have a cage around the mail? These mailboxes all have locks and keys. This appears to be the slums. Why the extra money spent on a mail prison cage that isn't even closed all the time? In case you missed the whole thing about the garbage strike at the beginning, and the fact that everyone in Gotham is an asshole, and all the streets lined with garbage everywhere, this movie pounds you with Gotham as a place information. It's almost like all the city's news is being delivered 24/7 by Travis Bickle.
It's Thomas Wayne. Well, he's a busy man.
Please. I worked for that family for years. The least you could do is write back.
Super not casual Batman reference is super not casual. Also, if you want me to believe anything this woman says, you shouldn't have cast that horrible mother from 6 Feet Under. Kind of a nice touch they made Robert De Niro the Jerry Lewis character in this King of Comedy remake.
So everybody's heard about the super rats that are in Gotham now, right?
Look, Robert De Niro is a legend, and we're lucky to have him, but he is super awkward at comedy. And I can't imagine someone like him or the character he's playing ever getting a late-night talk show.
But in all seriousness, I mean, these rats are...
In Arthur's fantasy, he interrupts Murray's monologue, and Murray is flattered enough to bring him on stage. But I like to think Arthur interrupted him because watching Robert De Niro try to do funny monologues is painful.
All that sacrifice, she must love you very much.
This not real conversation goes on for some time. Arthur Fleck dreams about being an audience member called down to the stage on his favorite talk show. Meanwhile, I dream about ninja cows trying to steal my kidneys. Movie accidentally includes footage from day 45 of production of The Machinist. Probably the height of subtlety in this movie is when Arthur accepts a gun from a guy who regularly makes fun of him while everybody plays the fool plays in the background.
Kenny's music. The guy said you disappeared.
See, here's why Arthur should have called his boss to report his ass beating, so that he wouldn't be blamed for not promoting the company he was hired to promote. Instead, he told no one, and now he's going to get reprimanded. Movie inspires Harmony Korine to make a sequel to Trash Humpers called 32 Short Films Shot Near a Ferris Wheel. Seriously, this is the staircase to hell. Instead of going down, you have to walk up to get to hell.
Hey.
Courtship. Hey, remember when we briefly decided as Americans to cover our home toilet seats in carpet?
Don't you have to be funny to be a comedian?
Half the fan mail I get opens with this exact phrase. Joker stalking. Joking? Joke-hawking? This is a great shot. This whole movie is full of great shots. Great acting, great set design. It's one of the most well-made movies I ever hated. Look, I understand Arthur is going to misspell words, but why does he use half instead of have here? And use the correct form of the word having twice. You can't half it both ways, movie. Apparently, the manager of the clown rental place thought Arthur was the best choice to entertain sick kids at a hospital. This is a guy who has apparently gotten numerous complaints about his performance in the past, so sure, he was probably the best option.
Wait, please. I love this job.
So wait, did the hospital call security or something and kick Arthur out? Has he been wandering the streets until it got dark to call his boss from a payphone? Or did his boss call him and this is the usual payphone he reaches him at? I feel like this payphone scene is all to set up Arthur's subway shootout instead of being a natural place for him to be at this moment.
So, buddy, tell us what's so funny.
Making a parallel to Bernard Getz in this movie opens up a great discussion about Gotham's thirst for heroes in the throes of a growing sickness. But there was a racial element to the Getz shootings, and it was debatable he could even claim self-defense. But this movie strips away a lot of that context and makes Arthur a straight-up victim, and his actions seem justified even though he does track down one of these dudes and kill him in cold blood. That said, he's a sympathetic character because we see him suffer. It's almost like we're saying the villains in the world all have a good reason for being this way. And remember, this guy becomes the Joker. I don't even know what we're supposed to think about that. Joker definitely fires one shot into the first guy, two into the second, and one into the leg of the third. That's four. Then when he catches him, he shoots a fifth time, then walks up to the guy and shoots 3 more times. That's 8 bullets. I just don't feel like that gun holds 8 bullets. Man, killing gives you a lot of energy. How do you make your not really a comic book movie stand out like it's high art, and not some lowly movie we can't call cinema like Avengers Endgame? Have your main character take a time out and do introspective slow dances to a haunting cello theme. If Tony Stark could have done this while trapped on the Benatar, Endgame might have gotten 11 nominations too. Nothing in this scene is actually happening in this scene. This movie really loves it some stairs.
It's almost as if our less fortunate residents are taking the side of the killer.
How do people know enough about this story to have an opinion that the poor person was shooting at the rich people for a reason that would rally them behind the killer? The only thing people watching the news know is that 3 guys got shot in the subway by a guy in clown makeup. Even if they heard the other parts of the story, how would this get framed as rich versus poor?
What kind of coward would do something that cold-blooded? Someone who hides behind a mask.
Thomas Wayne here, scoffing about mask wearers, and the movie is winking so hard at Batman that it sounds like clapping. Look, I know this place is called Pogo's, because that was John Wayne Gacy's clown name or whatever, but Gotham Comedy Club must be steaming for not getting into this movie, even though they were only established in 1996. How long would they let him do this before pulling him off stage?
I think the guy that did it is a hero.
So does he. Maybe even the movie does. You know, almost 30% of this entire movie is hallucinated, and that's only if it's not 99%. Why would this woman yammer on, year after year, about Thomas Wayne to her son, but never tell him that he was Thomas Wayne's son? She's like an endless fountain of Wayne information, except one part that I can't think of a good reason for her to hide from Arthur. It shouldn't be information a man in his 40s is finding out only because he read a letter not intended for him. I was about to say something about everyone reading a newspaper on this train, but it appears that the only people reading newspapers are on the aisle seat for maximum camera exposure. Oh, there's Bruce Wayne doing his usual preparing for the prom at the end of Twilight. As he talks to Bruce Wayne through an iron gate, I feel compelled to point out that no matter what the people who made it say, Batman looms large over this entire film.
I'm Bruce.
Bruce what? Banner? Almighty? Willis? Valanche? Also, man, I don't know, there are theories that Arthur Fleck is not the actual Joker. He just inspired the Joker, but then I don't know why we're watching this movie if that's the case. Anyway, Joker must be 60 goddamn years old by the time Bruce becomes Batman, if not older. Inappropriate gate etiquette. Also, Jesus, even if Bruce is too entitled to have ever learned stranger danger, he'd still run away or back off from this kind of bull. Right? Do magic, fool me once. Put your thumbs in my mouth to force a smile in my cheeks, I scream bloody murder. I'm pretty sure that's how the saying goes. Isn't Alfred former SAS? Does he get choked out by a loser clown like this without breaking free? Or are you going to tell me this isn't Alfred? Imagine if Arthur had come home just 10 minutes later. His mom would be missing and he'd have no idea why. At least not for a good while.
We got this videotape from Pogo's Comedy Club right here in Gotham. Here's a guy who thinks if you just keep laughing, it'll somehow make you funny.
I don't know if this is in Arthur's head or what, but I have a couple questions about this scene. First off, did someone in the audience videotape this performance? Or was it Pogo's Comedy Club? Remember, Pogo's had closed-circuit televisions for the comedians, but this shot is completely different than the one that shows up on Murray's show. And this is the early 80s, so it would be hard to believe that they set up multiple cameras in this place. Second off, while Arthur's comedy is awful, open mic nights in big cities freaking always have some awful sets. Plus, Murray does this at the end of his monologue, and it comes out of nowhere. This feels like something that would be part of a segment in his show and not part of the monologue. It would be a recurring bit, like stupid human tricks or carpool karaoke. Man, I just really wish they'd found a less sloppy way for Murray to mock Arthur. This is a hell of a stage shot right here. A Kill the Rich newspaper with the clown face, the cigarettes, and the 8-bullet holding gun. The prop master was here, and it shows.
The anger and resentment that's been building in the city for weeks seems close to exploding.
The movie seems to have decided that the main issue going on in Gotham right now is the resentment between the haves and the have-nots. But that's only after Arthur killed those guys in the subway. Up until then, the news was mostly about the garbage strike and the super rats. Now suddenly Gotham is a powder keg over a subway shooting that really doesn't symbolize the struggle between rich and poor at all, really. How this incident became a spark in some sort of Gotham class revolution revolution isn't earned by the movie at all. Clown Kapai Wayne Street. But also, where are they all getting these masks? However many stores in Gotham had them in stock surely ran out after selling a few, right? At least in V for Vendetta, V mailed them to everyone, which is preposterous, sure, but not as preposterous as all the stores have hundreds of this mask in stock just in time for a protest movement. Almost like Arthur planned it this way. The cops get distracted almost immediately once Arthur arrives. He's able to get past a barrier without anyone seeing him, find a conspicuously unguarded and unlocked door, and make his way inside the rich people's gala. Arthur copies CinemaSins Chris and tries to pose as an usher to get inside an auditorium. Let Chris tell you from experience.
The people in charge of all the ushers at a place like this will notice you walking into an auditorium, and they will come and ask you what the you are doing, and they will kick you out if you tell them a bullshit story.
He is 100% blocking someone's view here. Why would it benefit for a mayoral candidate to show old Charlie Chaplin films? How does this in any way connect to your campaign for mayor? And if you tell me this is just a theater in the same building as the benefit, then I tell you that no theater randomly showing Charlie Chaplin films would sell out to predominantly old white men in tuxedos. Joker just happens to be here in the theater, which has the house lights mostly up right now, mind you, during the presentation of a film, see Thomas Wayne in the sea of people with his binocular vision, then Wayne happens to need to pee, so Arthur can confront him in the bathroom where there is no security for a billionaire that is currently running for mayor. Do I convenience that right?
Your mother adopted you while she was working for us.
Great, so in addition to mental illness, we can also blame adoption for his eventual snap and life of crime.
We stopped by your apartment today, but you weren't home.
The movie is pretty mostly set in 1981, but Wikipedia tells me answering machines weren't widespread until about 1984, which means Arthur is not only an early adopter, but spent a fortune on this device, a fortune he and his mother do not have. Why not just have a detective leave a note on the door with his business card when he stops by earlier? Why do you have to anachrantagonize me?
Yeah, I hear you, brother.
Cringiest line a white guy said to a black guy, since if it were legal, I'd have voted for Obama for a third term from Get Out.
Like I said, I can't release these records, without proper forms.
What? But you can go get them out of the basement and read them to him? The kind of rules is this joint running with? I can't really buy Arthur somehow wrestling this file away from Carl, since he's a 100-pound weakling reaching through a slot, and Carl is a bigger guy with no physical deterrence, but movie's got a movie. As he runs with the records to freedom, I can't help but realize how little security this place has. I wonder if criminal evil people ever break out of here. Would a psychiatric hospital have a copy of her adoption certificate? I'm not saying it definitely wouldn't. I'm just wondering why Arkham has a file that seems to contain this woman's entire life's details. God damn, there were a lot of newspaper articles about this one incident. Isn't Gotham huge? Aren't there terrible mothers and abusive fathers in the news every day? Why was this one such a long-running story? Do you want to get committed? Because cry laughing on the stairwell of a psychiatric hospital after stealing private records? That's how you get committed. Arthur continues to find unlocked doors around a town that is currently experiencing its worst crime and is in a general period of unrest.
What are you doing in here?
You probably guessed that Arthur's relationship with Sophie wasn't real the moment the movie tried to tell you that it was, but now that it's admitted lying to you, what do we do with this? Now everything we've seen Arthur experience is called into question because of this Tyler Durden moment. Are there people inspired by his subway murders? Did the murders even happen? Did Murray really put his stand-up act on the air? And did he really invite him to be on the show? I guess we're supposed to think just this is a lie? In case you didn't know that this relationship doesn't exist, here's a highlight reel of all the stuff we wasted our time on to properly hammer you over the head. And of course, we cut to 5 minutes of him laughing because Oscar bait got a bait. Matricide. Do heart monitors usually just stop making noise when someone dies? Like, is it the monitor's job just to beep when someone's heart is beating? But when it's over, it's like, all right, I did my job. The heart's not beating, so I will go ahead and take my smoke break until you guys hook me up to someone with a beating heart. Might be able to ask the heart monitor 3 rooms down if she wants to go on a date. I hear Coppola has a new one called One from the Heart that's in theaters now. Seems like a perfect movie for us. A VCR? This household spent tons on being early tech adopters. Jesus. Also, did no one at the hospital have any questions about how his mom died? Did he just leave?
Please welcome a good friend of the show, Mr. Ethan Chase.
So this is The Dark Knight Returns meets King of Comedy meets Taxi Driver? Honestly, I'd rather watch all 3 of those movies again than watch this Joker movie a second time. So Joker intends to go on the Murray Show and kill himself, as this scene suggests, but it's a red herring, and anyone that ever read or watched The Dark Knight Returns knows that already. Sadly, that's not very many of us compared to this film's overall audience, but still, red herring is red. Here's a sentence I never thought I'd write. The Joker dances too much in this movie. This movie saw Mel Gibson's over-the-top axe attack from The Patriot and felt compelled to outdo it in every way, and I could only blur the entire screen as this incredibly violent overkill attack goes on for some time.
You were the only one that was ever nice to me.
Yeah. I guess Gary never tells the cops about this, because Arthur is able to, clean up all that blood off his face, reapply and add his makeup, get dressed, and stroll down the hallway. Guys, this is the weirdest Purge movie I've ever seen. As Joker dances down the stairs, a famous song by the infamous Gary Glitter plays, and I have concerns. Gary Glitter is a convicted pedophile. Everyone should stop using his music. In fact, most sports arenas and venues already did. This might be a stupid question, but how do they know it's Arthur? They only met him at the hospital, without clown makeup, and from their vantage point, all they see is a guy with his back turned way downstairs dancing. And everyone is dressed as a clown these days because they hate rich people. Also, why are they even around the stairs? We've seen that Arthur has to walk up these stairs and then go down a sidewalk to get to his apartment. So they either went to his apartment and somehow just completely missed him, even though he's been dance walking for 10 hours, or the movie just needs them here and f*** you for asking. And they obviously don't know about him murdering Randall yet, or else they'd be running down the stairs after him already. Wow, he got to the train just as the doors were closing? Maybe this is a comic book movie. Everything that happens is so goddamn convenient. Arthur is running from the cops and makes it to a subway train car where everyone is dressed as Joker, so he can have maximum convenience in his escape. And thankfully for him, the cops get beaten to oblivion, so he has an hour or two to kill before an APB goes out on his ass. How the f*** does this guy know that this dude pushed Arthur into him? How does he know Arthur didn't push him? The f***ing f***. I feel like this movie was all, should we give Mark Maron a role? And someone replied, no. But then someone else replied, but I love him. So ultimately they decided to cast him, but in the tiniest role in the film.
Couple of rules, though. No cursing, no off-color material.
Doesn't Murray have someone who would do this rundown for him? You know, like this character being played by Mark Maron?
It's got a book. A book of jokes.
Every writer or comedian I've ever known has a book of ideas they carry with them. This is not a reason to mock, but rather a tool of the trade.
Comedy is subjective, Murray. Isn't that what they say?
I have a bad feeling he's talking about CinemaSins. Oh, here is a clock that is not 11:11 right here on the Murray Franklin Show. There goes the consistency.
Everybody just yells and screams at each other. Nobody's civil anymore.
Facebook.
You sound like you're making excuses for killing those young men.
Jeez, does Murray truly believe Arthur killed those guys? Or is this all about the show must go on? I feel like on a live show, this would have cut to commercial long ago and Arthur escorted out by security and detained until the cops came for questioning.
What do you get?
I don't think so.
When you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash!
He becomes president?
Isn't it beautiful?
This ambulance is being driven by one of the insane clown posse, and it's going to be the ex machina Joker needs to get out of this. But again, I ask, because I've seen these out-of-nowhere vehicles hitting another car across an intersection scene so many times. How did this ambulance know a cop car was coming, and how did it time the wreck just right? Or is this some kind of completely random happenstance in a world of chaos, and it just so happens to free Joker? Wait, you're telling me Bruce Wayne's parents were murdered? So here's the end of this movie. It's pretty good, I guess. Would any of you have watched this movie if it wasn't called Joker? My guess is that you wouldn't. So I guess the next thing that an independent production that has no chance in hell of getting an audience needs to do is somehow tie it into a Thanos origin story. Just a guy driving around LA traffic all day yelling, I wish only half these people existed. The end. Jesus Christ Joker car. Movie goes all Newhart at the end, showing him in therapy and suggesting maybe none of what we saw was real. Jesus. How long was he standing in that interview with the lady from Magnolia's Blood to be able to make multiple perfect bloody shoe prints on the floor? That must have been a lot of blood.
That's not funny.
Does anyone want to switch seats?
You can't make me do anything like
Thank you. Welcome to the Tonight Show. Well, the sun is out today again. What a storm we had. Was that unbelievable?
Hey, what's your name?
You talking to me? You talking to me? You talking to me? Well, then who the hell else are you talking? You talking to me?
This is really nice. You got a thing for swans? Is this like a fetish? It's something like maybe we need to devote some time to?
Thought about what you said to me the other day about my painting.
What you're about to see may disturb you.
It's behind!
Hey man, my name Money Low. They call me Money Low, you know what I'm saying? Infinite Paper Productions, you know what I'm saying? We doing it real big.
And people will die. Starting tonight. I'm a man of my...